Welcome to the Save Par Golf Podcast, where two average golfers talk about golf and things. I'm your host, Derek.
My favorite thing is you throw your arm out like you're gonna clap and then you never do. And I always hate it.
You fall for it.
Every time. I'm Dominic.
This is Dom Dom. We are currently on episode 108, and we have a very special guest today. We have Raymond with Golf Projects, a place to talk about golf. If you're not following them on Instagram, make sure to hit that follow button. Their handle is at Golf Projects. Raymond, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, man.
Appreciate it, fellas. Nailed the intro. Jump right into it, huh?
I appreciate it. Yes. I typically I've been pretty good, but I have messed up here and there, so it does happen. But, glad we knocked that one out. So yeah, we obviously want to talk about what you're doing right now for the game of golf. You've been covering a lot of cool brands, so we'll definitely dive into that. But can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got introduced to the game of golf?
Yeah, so I currently live in Oregon. I grew up in the state. I've been in and around sports literally my entire life. So I grew up hooping, running track, and then playing football. And so that was like the three main categories for me. And then that transpired to me actually playing college football at a D2 school up in Western Oregon, which is like 45 minutes, an hour outside of Portland, couple 30 minutes outside of Salem, maybe. And then, yeah, like in the off season when we weren't doing spring ball and winter conditioning and stuff, just wrecking our bodies, like golf was always something that was really interesting. We were super broke back in the day. This is well before NIL and like athletes actually being able to make money for themselves. So the driving range was something that we like to do. So we literally would go to Goodwill. We would try and pick up a club at a time and then just sit on the driving range in the summer and just hit balls. So that was like my first real introduction to the sport. And then after I had graduated, I had worked for a few years up at Nike. And then my wife actually got into nursing school down in Orange County. And I think when we moved down there, that's when things like really started to ramp up. Obviously, like it feels like the hub from a state standpoint where golf is at. So there's no shortage of participating in the sport. And then just naturally, like everybody out there is talking about it. If they're not talking about surfing or skating, like more so the conversation is going to be centered around golf. So yeah, that's really been the cusp of it. I moved back up to Oregon 2 or 3 years ago. Super underrated state for golf, I think. A lot of people talk about Bandon, but there are some gems out here in the Portland, up where I'm at in the desert area. So there's a lot of places you can get a lot of action out here, which is cool.
That's good because you might have to help us. I think we're planning on doing the next shindig that we do. It's like our little tournament that we throw every year in Portland. And we don't know anything about Portland. I've never been to Oregon.
Yeah, we have I don't know if you know Jeff from Chasing Aces.
Yeah, I haven't met him, but follow him for sure.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. So he's also out there as well. And so we were gonna try to definitely help rely on him for some points. We've kind of teamed up with Odin Golf, and that's kind of we've hosted a couple of events. So that might be our next location. I think that is going to be our next location. So
at this point, somewhere in Oregon.
But I've heard it is very underrated. I mean, Bandon is obviously the place that people think of or it comes to mind, but I've heard that there's so many other places and affordable for the most part as well.
Yeah, that's like the major hook. I think obviously like a lot of the 99% of the conversation is centered around Bandon, which I mean deserves the respect, honestly, but a lot of, like I said, a lot of gems. I kind of like that too, just because it is a bit of like a shock and awe moment when people get out here and they can actually play. So yeah, there's definitely no shortage of golf. It's just you got to battle the seasons. You got to get out here at the right points during the year to make it fun.
So before we dive into, talking about the brand itself and what you're doing, when you were in college playing football, going to the driving range, did you have golf in general, did you have like this idea of like, dude, it's just a little white golf ball, this is going to be like the easiest thing ever?
Did you think it was going to be just like watch me do it?
Yeah. And then second question to that is, how did you actually play when you were hitting the balls in the driving range, or was it just something to like set, just trying to like
it's a good
time and do something different?
It's a good question. I think for me, because I had grew up in sport, I had watched like hours and hours and hours of film, so naturally like seeing action in motion, like having an understanding to like emulate that was something that I think I can do really well. I played cornerback, so like a lot of my position is very reactive. So being able to like break down film, understand mechanically how my body can move, I translated that fairly well to golf. I never played baseball. I think I played like t-ball in second or third grade, and then that was a wrap. Like, never been interested in the sport, but for me, like, naturally just swinging, throwing, catching, running was always something that came organic. So the transition wasn't very hard. And what's crazy is we used to, like, obviously try and emulate Tiger Woods. That was back when like Lance Armstrong was a big guy on the bike tow. So anytime we were doing an activity that was outside of our like football ecosystem, we were always emulating like the athletes that were at the highest standard, which was fun. So I have like just tons of videos where every swing someone's yelling out Tiger Woods in the background.
That's so cool. It's actually a really interesting take, because I said most people pick it up and play
I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
the whole film thing, but it makes sense.
I think that's why like a Curry or a Patrick Mahomes, or like you see a lot of, I mean, those are elite athletes getting behind a stick, but like from an athlete perspective, like you understand mechanically how to move your body in space. And so there is like somewhat of a natural transition. Obviously, like baseball players will dominate the swing. But I think it's a lot easier. You've seen just like a Trotty as an example. We'll talk about him working with specific athletes that aren't connected to golf specifically, that translate like coaching really well, really quickly too. So I think it's just like an athlete thing.
I like that. That's a great answer.
So that reminds me, we did a live episode of Vibes at the 3M Open.
Yep.
There's a picture of me between a former NFL tight end and then a former NFL cornerback. I have never felt so small and unathletic in my life, because I remember I'm standing next to AT and then Darius Hillary. It was the corner. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Super humble dude. Blast. Made a blast. It's like our first live podcast.
Well, and you stood next to like the shorter guys.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm like,
also shorter, so I'm gonna stick over here.
Well, I'm not exactly tall.
No.
So I was like, wow, I'm so unathletic here.
Well, it's short and athletic, but I get what you're saying though. Yeah, it was.
Are you short and athletic?
I would say. I mean, I played high school basketball.
You blew out your knee.
Football. I run
pickleball.
I did do that. I'm 34, so that does happen.
Actually, hey, that's why we're all golfing now.
That's right.
It's a little less stress. It's a little less stress.
Exactly.
I played baseball.
Yeah,
loved it.
So yeah, let's talk about golf projects. Where'd you get the idea to create this? And
for those who don't know, do you want to kind of explain what it is, kind of break it down for us? Because I mean, I've told you a handful of times now, I love what you're doing. I'm a big fan of it. I find myself just watching it, not even realizing that I'm watching it, because it's so easy. It's effortless. It's very like informational and quick to the point.
Yeah.
But it's also really well made and put together. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate it. I think there's a lot of like necessary intentionality that goes into it, of just like even framing sound, like all those little things just to make exactly what you're calling out super digestible. So with the project is essentially like, when I moved back to Oregon, the handle actually used to be called Oregon Golf Project, funny enough. And the whole like tone of the page was just going to be me reposting images from all of the Oregon golf courses, and then the brands that were actually represented out here too. That's something that I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, there's some really great heritage brands that have been in the space for a really long time that are in the state of Oregon. So just bringing to life some of those brands, and then all of the courses that the state had to offer. That lasted, I don't know, like 6 or 7 months. And it was just like reposting. It was kind of like, it just got boring. I stopped like completely using the page altogether. And then just this last summer, I'm in brand marketing, been in brand marketing for 10 years. So I've always had an itch for creative endeavors. And then like really putting a lot of time on the golf course. Like, a lot of the homies, a lot of friends and stuff would be texting me, talking to me on the course about footwear and apparel and stuff. And like, we talked about being sneakerheads before we started the pod, but like, I decided I was just going to take all that energy that all those conversations that we were having, and then just VO a lot of those conversations on an IG page and just see what happens. Cause I think secondarily to that, I couldn't find a lot of what I was looking for. And so I was just like, what if I aggregate all these things that I like, and then, like I said, just VO that on a page and just see what happens. So there's some franchise pieces that have popped up that I think people really attach to, like the golf drops is something that was really interesting. Yep. The fact that like there's stuff happening every week for 30, 40, 50 weeks throughout the calendar year is wild. I never would have thought that would have taken off the way that it has. But yeah, I mean, I think just what you guys are doing, just trying to find gems and then speaking to why we like it, why we see it, and like the vibes around it has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like we get so wrapped up around, the golf season, quote unquote. Obviously, here in Minnesota, we do have a golf season. I said that very Minnesotan. Um,
Small window, but yes.
like it's December, and this is like the weirdest December I think I've ever had in my 26 years of life, where today is what, December 19th, and there's no snow on the ground,
Yeah, and it was relatively warm and sun was
which is
shining, so
bizarre.
yeah.
But I feel like we all get so wrapped up around, the golf season, the majors throughout the year, the tournaments, that we kind of forget that there's always something new every week in golf, whether it's, a new shirt, a new hat, a new company came out. I think that's what makes the golf space super fun and, always evolving and really cool.
100%. And there's a lot of narratives that are going on. Like Top Golf is really interesting. There's a bunch of indoor facilities that are doing really interesting things. The TGL pops up, then it's gone. We have Live, we have PGA Tour. Like it's a never ending news cycle. Like I posted a day, like the 9 or 10 of my favorite brands that have been on like my radar this year. But in the subject or the body copy, it was like 2023 might be the year that we look back on when things like changed in a dramatic way. So 24 is going to be really interesting, but I think 23 might be that year where like, I think that's when everything like really started to evolve in a rapid way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, this has kind of been the year where we've seen like streetwear, skateboarding, kind of stuff like that start to really mingle in golf. Like you're talking about, Mahomes and Curry, and we're starting to see all these big athletes take the course by storm and be, really good. Like, I feel like if we're going to talk about athletes, we have to throw Tony Romo in there. Like, Romo's a stick.
Yeah.
Like he could make the tour. I think he almost did.
I mean, he played on a lot of
He played on some events.
The Corn Ferry Tour, I think.
Yeah.
Played some events out there. I mean, yeah.
But we're starting to see everything kind of, start to mingle into golf, which I don't think I've ever seen, especially in the last few years. I mean, because golf really exploded in 20.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, for like non-competitive golfers, just in general, it grew quite a bit. Well, and then like to cover like the actual brands, I mean, you have like Travis Scott partnering now, dropping a low Jordan golf shoe. I mean, so it's not just like, I think like the fashion side of things and the like when you go back to 2020, just more people invested in golf. I feel like that has been a really cool thing to see. I will say though, like regardless of which side you stand on between Live and PGA, it really kind of bothers me to like where we're at like professionally. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like change and I just not to
I
get
actually
like
really like it.
See, for me, like I do and I don't. Like I think at some point there's going to be another maybe just one league where they're all together, but I don't think that's going to be for a while down the road. So it's just hard to like. I think it definitely needed a shake up and it needed a change, right? And I think just for me personally, it's hard to like see two leagues when there's still like there isn't the best people in one league right now. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
No, 100%. And I think, like I mentioned this in a video a little while back, but I think golf is going through its first lifestyle era. It's like very reminiscent of like the late 90s, early 2000s in hoops. Again, I'm a big fan of basketball. So what you saw that happened in the basketball space is starting to like unpack in golf, which makes things really interesting. But I think, again, like in this lifestyle area, like it's a pendulum and it's like swinging very far left or right, however you want to look at it, in a direction where it's going to go too far at one way and then everybody's going to wait for it to come back where it's actually in a state that everybody really enjoys. So yeah, there's a ton of chaos that's going right now at the highest level, which is somewhat unfortunate. Like I'm really curious of what's going to happen, but I think just like you said, it's a little annoying when you're trying to figure out like where you're going to watch what at the time. Which makes it difficult just from a consumption standpoint. But yeah, out of that, I think that's where you see like leaps and bounds from an innovation standpoint and who's actually going to like do it the right way.
So you talked about you've had some brand and marketing experience and all that. Did you have any like previous experience creating like a social media channel? I know you talked about the Oregon deal, but like anything previously, like because I mean, it seemed like you seem very professional at what you do. So they said it's very quality. But it just seems like you're not just some like random person that just like I'm just going to start this and do it. You know what I mean?
hmm No, I mean, I think a part of like my everyday role, you can only get better at your job if you're like experimenting. So for me, like this whole project was an experiment, something that I've always had like a creative itch to be able to go execute stuff the way that I wanted to. So I have 10 years of growing brands through digital and then IRL, like in real life experiences and stuff. So just taking a lot of like those understandings and again, like trying to fill the gap where I couldn't find what I was looking for. And I felt like I had good enough taste that people would at the very least just be interested in. And I think the most important thing about this channel specifically is just to make sure that I'm not selling anybody anything. It's just like you said, it's a place to talk about stuff. It's a place for you guys to discover and everybody else to come and find these gems, make with it what you want. But at the end of the day, like this is my taste. This is stuff that I'm interested in.
With that being said, do you reach out to companies, or like how do you come across what do you look for in a company to post on your page?
No, so I think that's what's been wild about the whole process. I've never actually like reached out to anybody directly. I would say there is an overwhelming amount of positivity on the channel, which is super shocking to me. I don't necessarily see that being matched on like TikTok, which is also like kind of interesting. TikTok is just a whole nother animal, like with going on and shopping and stuff like that. I've really thought about in the last couple of weeks of just stop posting to that platform just because I don't know, it's getting kind of annoying. But on Instagram specifically, like these brands, I think this space, this like tastemaker area, people are very adamant about like personalizing their experience and making sure that there's a face behind the brand, which is really cool. So again, I think that's where a lot of like my interest comes from. I'm very passionate about what the content looks like, what the story is behind the brand, and then how the product is executed too. So like those three pillars are what captures my initial interest. And if it checks all those boxes, then I'll try and like put together something that's interesting for why I either like that brand or I'm interested in what they're doing.
So I definitely want to talk, ask some of the questions, like maybe some of the favorite brands that you've covered before. And I know you posted a video about some of your top brands in 2023. So I'd like to cover those as well. And so that being said, I just lost my train of thought about what I was going to ask, but I had three questions in one.
Man.
Yeah, can we? Oh, I know what I was going to say. There was a brand that you actually talked about the other day. And the reason kind of caught my eye was it's a local company here in Minnesota, and I've never even personally, but it was that Sentinel Golf.
Sentinel. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
So
absolutely blasted for calling it. How did I say it? Minneapolis.
Yeah,
So I was like,
I
"Yo,
wasn't gonna
what is
bring
going
that
on?"
up.
yeah.
People were coming out of the woods.
So
I was
funny
like, "Oh,
enough,
shit."
I found an apparel company where it like phonetically sounds out Minneapolis
Mm.
right after I watched that. I was like, no.
I wasn't going to
Uh,
call you out on that, but the only reason why I brought it up is again, I live in downtown Minneapolis, and I've never heard of them personally. And I was scrolling through their page and then clicked on their website, and yeah, again, it's crazy that right here in my backyard, there's these brands that I've never even knew existed, and
I almost wish it was from like Wyzetta just to hear him try to say Wyzetta because it's not spelled right. Or
yeah,
or what's another weird one that we have?
we got a bunch.
Uh,
Roseau,
oh, Roso's a
that's a
mess.
weird one. Yeah, there's a bunch of weird
Yeah.
cities that we have here in Minnesota.
Yeah,
But
I promise if you saw how Wyzetta was spelled, you would have butchered it.
Oh, I'm horrible at grammar too. I just told everybody that I was taking shots at everybody that pronounced Oregon. So
oh yeah, I was a little tipsy on that one. No, but just going back to like I that's what I think as a viewer of follow as a follower on your page, like that's what's I think most important part. Like you're not trying to sell me their product. It's more or less just more of like an informational piece. But then very next clip, like this is puts a good presentation out. So you're almost really without selling the product, you're really doing a good job of presenting it. So it's like the first thing I'm gonna do is click on it. And I said it caught my eye about the Minneapolis deal. So um is there I mean, I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this because again, like you said, you're not trying to like go on one side or the other. You're not trying to sell anything because you're not necessarily like making any money on that. But are there besides the three pillars that you'd mentioned, are there certain other like guidelines, like just not only like with the clothing brands, but like the almost that's the one that
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
yeah
we've worked with them before and they've been on the pod. And
Yeah.
when I saw that
Oh,
they
sick.
popped up, I was like, hell yeah. Because
Yeah.
they're definitely a brand that I think deserves more recognition because their stuff, one, it's unbelievably nice. It is
Mhm.
super nice. Two, I'm a big fan of Porsches and the fact that it's modeled and the whole story is about
Yeah.
a Porsche. I was like,
Mhm.
sign me up. And three, I just feel like they should be bigger than they are because like it's a good quality. It's something that everybody can use, and it just looks phenomenal for being a tool. Obviously, you have like the little zipper thing they came out with. I don't know anything about
Mhm.
that.
No, yeah.
But like the tool, I have one clipped on one of my bags. I don't know which bag it's on, but it's on one of them. Damn bags.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, like going back to Sentinel, the whole ethos behind the foreign and forgotten, like absolutely love that. So I think to your point, like you guys are probably well aware that there's a ton of brands in this space. Like it's getting very noisy, which isn't a bad thing. I think like consumers will find the gems out there and talk about like the almostes of the world. So what Sentinel has done a really good job of is taking those items that people often forget about, kind of like what Almos is doing, and then reimagine them, retool them to be like these absolute masterpieces. And I think again, going back to golf going through its like lifestyle era, people really care about that stuff now. So they're not just shopping on Amazon trying to find the cheapest model of whatever it is out there that everybody's selling. And then with Omos, which is interesting. So I did an unboxing of students' new um, golf glove. And in the video, I said, should we be thinking about a better experience for basically what Omos did? And they hit me up like right after the video and showed me a bunch of prototypes, and I got super hyped. So I was just like cheering them on from the sidelines, if you will. And then probably like 4 or 5 months later, they're like, hey, we got finished product. We'd love to send it to you. And I got it in hand. Same thing. Awesome experience. The unboxing experience was super legit. The product is really good. And the story line of the brand is solid too. So like something like that that's functionally really great, has a really great story, has a really great experience. Like I'll pour in a lot of intentionality behind those videos because I think it deserves, like you said, more awareness, more exposure.
I love the little things. Obviously, we're going to keep talking about almost for a little bit. I hope it's not the entire thing, but I love that everything they do has a purpose, right? So, like their unboxing, it's entirely recyclable, renewable. Um, I don't remember if I ever touched on that in my reel, but it's all renewable.
I think you did.
It's definitely one of my favorites. I have the red clay color. I don't know what color. I don't remember what color you got, but
I got the what? I think I got the
I think you got the white. But everything they do has a purpose, and I really do enjoy that about them. Um, and I like that they don't try to shove it down people's throats because, like, personally, I would never use one of the big glove things. I don't have enough gloves for it.
See, I think that for me, that's something that I would definitely use.
I use
'Cause
one
I have
glove
a
at a
lot of
time.
gloves. I do too, but I have like the problem is depending on, like for me, like if I get sweaty, especially in the summer, you just have a glove, you crinkle it up and it just sits in your bag. And it's like, I actually went through my
Mhm.
one bag the other day. I had like 15 gloves. And normally I do just
God,
wear
you're
one,
nasty.
but they're not like all like gross. But like when you're able to put them in those little sleeves like that and
I
actually,
was a stuffer, man. I was stuffing
yeah,
my gloves in like the
yeah,
driest spots in my bag.
yeah. Next thing you know, yeah, you got like 8 of them and they're all just balled up. They're not like nasty. It's just like they could be a lot more fresh if you keep them in those pouches. That's definitely something that I find very uh it would be convenient for me.
My issue is I forget
Mhm.
things. So I would forget all my gloves in that little pouch, and then I'd be like raw dogging it
Can I
throughout the
yeah,
day.
can you borrow me a glove?
Yeah, yeah,
To go to the pro shop.
yeah, yeah.
Pretty soon. I mean, is this so like fast forward a little bit, the way that you're making these videos, and again, I know you're again we're going back to like you're trying to find what fits your criteria, but do you think at some point, I mean, you're gonna have a room full of all of this apparel slash merchandise and accessories? Because I mean, again, obviously with almost like you said, like they liked what you did. They're like, hey, I want to send you this, that kind of thing. I mean, I feel like that is something that you'll probably see here in the near future.
No, that's 100% right. I think like I've gotten to the point now where I'm trying to get, I don't want to say more selective, but more like curated in my approach,
Yeah.
which is really, really hard. It's hard to like say no to a lot of things. So I think for me, I'm a really big fan of Marquez Brownlee. I don't know if like
Hmm.
MKBHD like tech.
No
So that's
Marquez.
like my That's my like approach to this space. I don't know if you have like seen any parallels on how he like unpacks things, but
Send you
that's where like a
videos.
lot
Nice.
of yeah, that's like where a lot of like the energy comes from. So for me, I think what's awesome about the page is constantly finding gems, but I also am I don't want to say I want to say like somewhat passionate about the sustainability like of the sport too. So exactly what you're saying. I don't want a room just full of
Yeah.
stuff that I never use. So I am trying to be a little bit more selective in what comes in and what I'm talking about too. And I think that's where the pod comes into, where I can naturally just go on and ramble about specific things as opposed to like trying to get down a 90-second video that actually has impact.
Yeah, now that you mentioned the podcast, we kind of transition next. There's definitely more questions that we obviously want to ask you, but you are launching a podcast coming out. Do you know when that's going to drop?
Trying for early January. I was gonna try and get out a couple episodes for holiday, but I was like, I want to actually do this the right way, so we'll just pause for
It's
now.
tough, dude. If you ever need advice, let me know. I know I've had a handful of people that like the golfers are starting one.
Yeah.
They've been like picking my brain. I'm like, don't do this because I wish I would have done that. Um, but yeah, if you need any advice, let me know. I'm the one who like sets all this up. This is all my rig. It's a mess of chords, but damn, it works.
Yeah. Are you gonna try to are you gonna do more like unboxings like on this podcast, that kind of deal? Or are you gonna like actually try to, for example, back to some of the other brands, you're gonna try to have the actual company on, like somebody that's, uh, with the Sentinel, you're gonna have somebody from Sentinel come on and hop on the podcast?
I think it'll be a little bit of both. I think it'll be a little bit of, hey, what's going on week to week that's really interesting, just because again, there's so many narratives, so many storylines that are happening. Um, I don't necessarily want to talk about like live and PGA Tour and scores and pros and stuff like that. Like there's just enough podcasts out there that are like hammering that. I'm more interested in, again, allowing myself like more time to get in the weeds about a specific launch that I really like. And then the experience that I've like had with that brand. I think secondarily also I've got a lot of interest from brands on wanting to come in and storytell around like who they are and like their brand and what they're trying to get into. So again, that's where it goes to like I want to make sure that I'm doing this the right way and make sure that it's like very thoughtful and intentional and it's just not a waste of people's time. So yeah, just working through like all the little kinks, both on
Yeah.
like the tech side and then again the
Yeah.
actual like how is this going to flow.
It's funny because that's kind of been like our evolution. We started off, hey, let's talk about, this major, made our picks, blah, blah, blah. And now we've kind of, I don't want to say transitioned, but we've definitely like kind of switched tune to where it's more like, hey, come on, tell your story. Let's have a conversation
Yeah.
about it. Um, my big thing, and you don't have to take this advice, but we want it to be super organic, right? So,
Mhm.
um, I don't remember who asked me. Oh, it was Brian. Oh, I
Yeah.
did. So when Derek's not here, I try to bring in like a guest host. And Brian O'Reilly from Duffin Up Pod did one with me, and he's like, "Do I have to come with notes or anything?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't even have notes."
Yeah, I normally do notes, but yeah, I mean, again, but we're both really organic on how we
Yeah.
approach things.
So it just keep it organic, keep it flowing. Um, Everything people hear or see, or whether you watch it or listen to us, is genuinely how I am. It's how Derek
Yeah.
is. We just
Mm.
want to make people go, "Wow, these are cool dudes." And if you don't like us, that's fine. But I don't want to pretend we're something we're not.
Yeah, and we did like, so when we first started it, was it going back to like what he previously said. We was like, let's do like highlights once a week, do picks, and like you said, it is very saturated, and it's like we're just two dudes, two average golfers, which we have in our intro, and it's like there are a lot of other podcasts out there. So that was kind of where for a while it was pretty much just me and Dom, and then we're like, we have a good platform on Instagram, and let's try to expand that and just use it as a talking point where we can try to get some of these golf brands that we've worked with in the past. So kind of the same
Mhm.
concept. I mean, not really, but again, trying to just reach out to companies that we're really interested in that, really want to make golf better, or try to, reinvent something, whatever it might be. But it's really interesting and fascinating, like hearing different stories and kind of how they got introduced to the game of golf, just like how you had mentioned, like most people that we asked when they picked up golf, they were either really terrible at it, but like your answer
Mhm.
was kind of one of a kind for that we've heard so far. And we've had a lot of guests on. So I think it's just really interesting being able to like, talk to different companies and just different entrepreneurs and the backgrounds of like where people came from and how they kind of grew into the game of golf. Because when you like with the social media and all that, there is a lot of brands and companies, but at the end of the day, it's a still small knit community, in my opinion, from like where we're at. And that's what I really love about it. If you ask, was it Mark Kraken Golf? He does a lot of divot tools. You probably
Mark
follow Kraken Golf.
God, he's so talented. I've given him so much money.
But my point is that like there's a lot of divot tool and companies out there that are really good quality, like Mark, but I mean, there are times that we've had different companies that
There is
are
nobody,
competitors, and
there's nobody like Mark.
no, but I'm just saying, like
I know what you're saying.
they're all like willing to help one another out, and that's what I really kind of think is really unique and cool, because at the end of the day, they're competitors really in this market. But
And the cool thing for you is when you start your podcast, you're going to realize that everybody who has a podcast is going to offer advice. And I don't mean to like keep throwing that at you. One that really helped me out, because obviously I'm the one who has to like learn how to do all this. I'm not saying Derek didn't,
no,
but it kind of depends on the day. Some days you're not even here.
I type up questions when I'm here, and
On the screws guys, I think it was Mac, helped me out so much using like, hey, this is how I make my page look, stuff like that. So that is like the coolest part about the golf and like the golf podcast community is we're all essentially like one, other than like a handful who think they're better than everybody else.
No, that makes sense. I think like the foundation or the base that I've somewhat landed on now is, I think I might have put this on my stories, but it's swing thoughts, which is like 2 to 3, hey, what's going on that's of topic that's super relevant. And then the other thing was like New Kid on the Block, another brand that I've like found recently that I think is worthy of talking about. And then in those like swing thoughts segments, bringing on somebody that's relevant to one of those topics. So I think that's like the unique spot where it doesn't have to be like a 30-minute, 45-minute spot. Maybe it's just like 15 minutes and they get right to the point. Because I think that, again, what I've learned from Instagram specifically, and you guys called it out, is just like be super direct, like cut out all the noise that's going on and just like get exactly to the point.
Sure.
So yeah, just trying to keep things as tight as I can. Again, I think the other thing that comes out of that is it's repeatable. That's where it's something where I can keep doing without it taking too much energy and effort.
I kind of like that we're a wild card, because some weeks you're just like, wow, this is easy. And then other weeks you're just like, what the hell just happened?
Well, magic comes out of that sometimes. I think that's like some of my page too. Like there's just some things that I like tried off the whim and they popped. Like the golf drops was something I was like, oh, let's just talk about like everything that dropped this week. It was a heavy week. And then 200, 300,000 views later, I was like, whoa, people like this. I was like, I just was taking screenshots and like people really like this. So yeah, it turned into a hailstorm.
We worked with Bag Boy when we went to our shindig. I was like, hey, I'll make reels for you guys, blah, blah, blah. The reels I made about those damn travel bags have been some of my biggest damn reels this year. And it makes me so mad. Because I think one of the biggest ones is literally just me picking my bag up at MSP when we landed and dropping it. I'm like, what in the world? And then there's some where it's like I work super hard on, like whether it was like one from Curex or whatever. I'm like, great. I got like
there are some wild cards that you're just like, you put all this time and effort into it, and it's just kind of a flop.
Yeah.
How do you not like this? This is good stuff. And then there's some that it's like,
it's literally just me picking up the bag from like baggage claim and then dropping it. And it just like, I was like, stop it.
So my boost content for the page is a 7-second video where I'll go to threads and like, I don't know if you say thread it out, like text it out or whatever, just a specific question that's like, there's no like hurdles to answering. It's not like what's your handicap? People are a little nervous on like talking about that, or like what's your carry or whatnot with your driver, like none of those types of questions. So like the most recent one I did was, what bag are you rolling with? And like those blow up and I get a ton of like followers and reach with it. But I use those as like, again, like boost pieces. Yeah, I haven't put $1 into my page, but those, because they're up to like Instagram's best practices, they stretch really far. People see that, they come back, probably to what your guys' point. They see a bunch of other videos and then next thing you're in, they're like hooked. So yeah, those are like little pieces and nuggets that like I've just tried, they pop, they work, and it's just like, okay, how do we reinvent this again?
Yeah, the one thing I'll just talk one more thing about the podcast. We'll talk about some more of the other things you've covered. But my piece of advice is, and I'm guilty of this because again, but there is staying consistent.
Yeah, Mr.
Calm down,
Consistent.
consistent. We've been a lot more consistent.
I have
this year.
missed one episode, and that's because I thought I was dying.
So yeah, I will say yes. I have definitely been
I was not.
way more inconsistent. But it's just like social media, though. You have to be consistent on what you're posting, right? You just post daily, whether it's a few times a day, once a day, whatever it might be. But being consistent is key. But it's also really hard. I mean, podcasts it takes a lot into it. I mean, Dom does pretty much most of the stuff, but it's still like you have to put a lot of work into coming up with certain questions. I mean, we could just sit here and just ramble on, but for the most part, I try to come up with key talking points to at least try to help learn more about what you're doing, right? So, but no, I was super excited for you. And let us know what we can do to help promote it for you.
Or if you need a guess, I'll go on and ramble.
Yeah, no, if I'm on your guys' stuff, you guys have to be on mine. That's how
I have a lot of golf stuff. So
no, we'd love to hop on.
we were sent bags from like Japan, and they're wild.
Yeah, we did. Oh yeah, you should
Yeah,
check
they're
out
nuts.
Omni's pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen you might have seen them before, but
OmniX.
Yeah, OmniX, they're very cool looking. Check them out. So
United Arrows popped up a couple of weeks ago. Their stuff is crazy.
Which one is that?
Japan too. United Arrows.
I don't know if they're from Japan, but they're definitely overseas.
Yeah.
It's either China or Japan, but their bags are just nuts looking. And I
kind of futuristic looking.
I love mine.
Yeah.
They
do
it's still the bag my clubs are currently in.
Same for me too. Yeah. Custom work.
I will say lazy to switch at this point.
Yeah, you've done a collab. I don't want to say you've done a collab because you haven't, but you've covered Sunday golf. I love Sunday golf. They're awesome.
We work with them quite a bit.
Yeah, they're very, very great. Pretty much every product that we've had has been awesome. But I do you have like a preference in like what you're covering? Like, I mean, like if it's bags, accessories, apparel, shoes. I mean, obviously some brands cover it all, but is there something that really kind of sticks out to you?
It's definitely like footwear. You could call it gear, like accessories, bags. All kind of wrap all that into one, and then apparel. Those are like the three really big categories. I try to stay away from clubs just because it's not really my lane. People get kind of weird about that stuff. It's a very expensive category to talk in, so you can bend people the wrong way. Too. Yeah, and I just like super fascinated in it. Like, we'll listen to the most boring, longest YouTube videos on club builds, but I will not speak about it.
Yeah.
So I'll stay in the footwear space.
That makes sense. Do you know, like off top, like how many brands you've probably covered, like ballpark?
Oh man, that's a great question.
2.
Wow. I mean, it's got to be close to 50, I would say.
Okay.
Around that number, I think is got to be somewhat close.
You talked about the drops. What are like the course cards?
So course cards are products in specific categories that I am interested in. Some of them I have owned or like have in inventory, call it whatever, have like worn a decent amount. And then some of them, they're like sitting in my cart, like kind of excited about, but just haven't pulled the trigger. Again, going back to like, I probably have way more than I need. Do I necessarily need it? But yeah, I think like something that traditional media that I haven't necessarily liked is the pay to play environment. And a lot of like these tastemaker brands just do not have the dollars to be able to go pay a Golf Digest to get their pant involved in like the top 10 golf pants. So you go to those articles and you're like, I wouldn't wear 9 of the 10 pants that are like featured in this. And then you go behind it and you realize that there's commission and paywall, which is, look, that's how media has been for the last 1,000 years. But this course cards is a new way to look at it in the sense of like, here's again, from a curator's standpoint, these are the things that I really like, that I think brands are executing really well.
Do you think that will change like now that people are starting to understand that like down the road? Because again, yeah, you realize like how like the dollar amounts getting thrown and you know, like said the commissions, but now like there's so many content creators, people that actually like you said, like I wouldn't wear 9 out of 10 those brands, but now that there's so many other new brands coming out that are having really quality products, do you think that'll change here in the near future? Like for some of these
funny
brands?
enough, I only wear Adidas pants.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. I think it's going to be on like Meta and like these social platforms trying to figure out the monetization aspect of it. Because you could easily like build in um, affiliate like links and stuff like that. But again, I hate
Kind of
when
like we're saying
stuff
with,
gets messy.
yeah,
So
like
it's like,
TikTok.
what's like the cleanest way to do this? And again, I've really thought about starting up a subscription on my channel, but I don't want to then become a paywall. Like I think what a lot of people really like about the channel is it's super accessible and it's very easy to digest. So again, I'm trying to figure out a way to have like a practical monetization aspect of it without it like landing on the brand, and then also I don't want to take anything away from the consumer either.
Sure. That makes sense. I really like that because it is some of you can make money and you could probably make really good money. But again, is that what you really want? That's not what your brand is based off of, right? You know what I mean? Like you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
sell out and be like, but that's the whole thing with TikTok too. As having Safe Park Golf and having a decent following, it's like, I probably should create a TikTok before somebody else just takes it, So like I had it and it was like decent for a while, but one, it's overwhelming posting constantly the content on both platforms
I
or other
post,
platforms.
yeah, I post a clip a week, and I'm like, this is stupid.
But I'm not a big TikTok fan, to be honest with you. I just don't really like TikTok. I think honestly, Instagram is the most powerful social media platform for what you're trying to do and like for what I like doing. And that's just my personal opinion. But I've always just kind of gravitated towards Instagram for doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I thought so. I same thing. I had the handle for a long time. Never posted a video on it. Just wanted to be able to have a presence there, the flexibility if I wanted to start posting. I started it with the hopes that maybe there's enough people on here that might not have Instagram that will make their way to Instagram.
Yep.
And then again, I just don't like the usability of it. The UI UX of TikTok kind of sucks. And then this whole wave of TikTok shopping. Every time I log into the app and flip through some videos and stuff, because a lot of my stuff is golf centric now, I'm still getting hit with like foot massagers and shampoo and these earbuds that are $6. You can't believe like how cheap. It just drives me crazy.
And they don't
And
really work that
so
well. I've bought in a lot of that stuff.
I bought stuff.
it's all.
I actually
I
bought
think
something from TikTok. I did.
so. I had a conspiracy around it that 90% of the products that you see on TikTok shopping are the like knockoff products that are all over the world that people are just trying to get rid of because everybody over invested after COVID. So people are just sitting on an insane amount of like electronics. And now like all of a sudden TikTok shop just started blowing up with all these like random electronics. So I don't know. It drives me crazy. I can't stand it.
I feel attacked. I bought a.
He bought a massager.
No. I funny enough,
You bought that sweatshirt off TikTok shop, didn't you?
Amazon. Bought an emulator to play like old Pokemon games on because like
did you really?
I get stressed out. Yeah, it makes me feel nostalgic about my childhood. So I've been playing Pokemon Emerald.
Does it work?
Yeah, it has like 18,000. It has like 18,000 games.
Well, that's
for me to play like 4.
That's true.
I have seen those videos, and those are probably one of the only.
They're really
things
nice.
That are interesting. Yeah,
it's really nice. Yeah.
Just
I
these
have no
bricks that
regret.
look like they're from the 90s, but like you said, there's 36,000.
It looks like a Game Boy, dude.
Yeah.
Makes me so happy.
Raymond, if there's like one thing that you could change about the game of golf right now, what would it be?
Ooh, good question. Probably the cost. I think that's like a very sensitive conversation just from like an accessibility standpoint, both like to play and then just as somebody who's like very interested in the fashion and footwear side of things, like stuff is super expensive. Everything is expensive right now, which I get from like one of these like middle of the grounds companies. Like they're dealing with very thin margins and low like inventory levels, which just makes things more expensive. So the scaling of the sport is going to get really interesting. But yeah, the cost just overall is getting like shocking.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's probably that and pace of play are like the two things that most people would complain about that they wish they could change. Do you have Dom, if you want to ask any other questions you can think of, because typically, so we just want to keep you for just a few more minutes. We'll do rapid fire questions. So we just have a handful of questions. But if you have something you want to ask,
I do. I have I was brainstorming on my race car on my way here.
Yeah, hit me up.
I haven't driven my car in like a month and a half, so it felt like a rocket. I was like, hell yeah. And then I realized it's a Hyundai.
It's a nice thing about having a company vehicle. You don't have to drive your car if you don't want.
Yeah, but now when I hit a bump, I'm like, wow. So I don't want to read this. So obviously, you've talked about a lot of brands, you've got a lot of posts. What is one brand you think everybody should know about within the golf space?
Ooh, good question.
I know.
Wow, great
I'm
question.
proud of that one.
Yeah.
So that post that I posted today was really difficult to put out because, well, it's a little bit frustrating that I can only have like 9 cards in the carousel. Obviously, there's like other hacks that I could do, but I really wanted to do the Tastemakers 10. But out of that, I asked myself that very same question of like, if I could only choose one of these, what would that be? I think it's got to be Sentinel. I think if Sentinel's like started to do a little bit more apparel, but because they hit all of the spots outside of footwear, I'm a big standard on like quality, and their stuff is so insane. It's so well done and executed, and a lot of like the colorways and the final execution of stuff is exactly what I like.
I wanted to pull the trigger on the black T-shirt. I saw they had a couple different, again, very kind of simplistic style, but the quality looks really, really good. And I think it was $42, and I'm like, okay, it's for a T-shirt. Yeah, that can be kind of high, but there are some like $40 T-shirts that are not good quality.
I wonder if we could just go pick it up, save on shipping.
Oh, maybe. I don't know if they have like yeah, that's a good question. But I'm not opposed to spending $42 if the quality's there, that, it fits.
I think I spent $40 on this.
Well, and that's a video that I've been like somewhat like a comedian, like trying to figure out what the bit is, but trying to articulate the importance of not necessarily like buying better, buying less, but like, I don't know, I've gotten to a point in my life, like financially, where I can start to afford better pieces, but because everything is also super expensive, like it's getting kind of hard to figure out what is actually good based off of like price. I've definitely like picked up some things where I've gotten, I'm like, whoa, you're charging how much for this? Like it's falling apart before I even put it on. So I don't know, that's happening, which makes things super scary. So it's super normal in footwear. Like people are dealing with fakes and stuff like that. But yeah, the apparel stuff is interesting.
Do you get so I don't know if this would kind of contradict what you're trying to do, but going back to like what you said, golf's already expensive, right? That's one thing you change. But do you get like messages of like, hey, like this is my budget for something? Do you ever get people that are like, what would you suggest if I have $40 to spend on a polo or something like that, versus like, because some of these clothing, polos are $78, but they are good quality. But maybe for somebody who is looking for good quality but on a budget, you know what I mean? Does that kind of contradict what you're trying to do? But do you get messages like that?
No, so and I think that's what's really unique about the space. There's always an alternative for something. So somebody that's like me, when I was in college, I was broke. So like I could not afford a lot of the brands. Well, part of it was a lot of these brands didn't exist, but like the pieces that I was looking for just didn't exist, weren't in my like financial capacity. But yeah, I'm starting to get a lot more people that are like, hey, I'm really interested in Mackenzie bags, but I can't like shell out $700 or $800 for it. Is there an alternative option that's really good? So a part of like this scouting process, if you will, of like trying to find these gems, of trying to find the best quality for cost too. Navigating that has been a lot of fun. So yeah, but that stuff's definitely ramping up for sure.
Yeah.
Especially around the holidays. It's been wild. And that's why like I put out, I think, one holiday video, but people were blowing me up about, I was like, I can't even deal with this. Like, I don't want to be your personal shopper. I'm just going to make this one video and then just like disappear.
Take it at your own. Yeah, exactly. Well, that was kind of getting at my next point. It's like, you're almost kind of going to that, like, if you start going down that road, now it's like, now you are being a personal shopper for certain people, which people do like that, but is that what you want? You know what I mean? It really kind of comes down to like, is that what you want? But regardless, I think, so Dom introduced me to your page, and I obviously I follow you now, and I think you have something very interesting, and I think it's a very unique page, and I think it's going to do really well. It's already doing really well, so keep up the great work.
No, I really appreciate it.
We do want to ask some rapid fire questions real quick. It just takes a few minutes, but I actually have it set up here. I'm gonna I'm gonna let you ask this one question real quick.
I was gonna say, I don't think.
I clicked on a different one. So
this is our second pod today.
Yeah, my words are slurred a little bit, so I'm tired. It's been a long day.
No, you guys are straight.
We recorded earlier as well.
We now have 2 episode 108s.
Yeah, we're dropping one. we actually recorded with
True Links
Golfwear.
Oh, sick. Yeah, they said they're like October back in Halloween, because I was always really interested in their footwear because I got a lot of DMs about. That's the other thing that I really like about the channel that I think people are like really open about is what other people like. Like I'm just interested in what other people are like rocking, wearing, interested in. And I got blown up about True Links footwear, and I was like, shoot, I got to figure out how I can get connected with the brand. So yeah, they're really good people though.
Yeah, great story. Yeah, exactly. He was awesome. So yeah, it's been a long night. So I said I apologize.
I've never said skeletons so many times on the damn podcast. I love that damn.
I don't know if this really kind of pertains to him, but he could certainly maybe one that he wants to cover. That
yeah. Who would your dream collab be? You know, so maybe you want to cover them. Maybe you'd like to work with them kind of in depth. Do you have any ideas?
Man, I am heavy on the bag space right now. I've used Sunday and I've known that team for a really long time, well before I started the page. So like we've had some interesting conversations on what a collab would look like. And I think that's like a potential next chapter for like 2024, 2025 of like getting pretty tight with some of these brands. I have like a lot of really great ideas, but I'd also just don't have the time to like execute products. So it doesn't make sense for me to link up with some of these brands, put out a really like, I don't want to say exclusive, but like limited project that doesn't like hurt them financially, that allows like somewhat of a sparking conversation that's timely, I think is something that could be really interesting. So yeah, Sunday is we're having a lot of talks, I would say.
Good. Well, good for you. They're awesome. I really like them a lot.
Yeah, not at all about Sunday, but about my first vessel bag this year. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Those things, like, you know, people, you're saying those McKinsey bags, you don't drop $700-800. Buy a vessel bag and you'll be blown away.
Yeah, for a lot cheaper.
No, 100%. And that's like, I have like 6 designs. I'm gonna get a McKinsey bag one day that I like design on my own. And then I also have been like somewhat putting money aside just to get a vessel bag, because I have one of my really close friends got a vessel, and I was like, dude, this thing is wild, man.
I wanted
nice.
I had a really big.
You have some too, right?
Oh yeah, it has my name.
It's got the podcast.
Yeah, it has a logo that we've never used, probably never will use, but I like it because I like flowers. So whatever. I got that in pink. It says Dominic. Hindsight, I should have said Dom Dom.
Yeah, we probably Dom Dom. We should have got Dom Dom.
Would have been better, but I had this big Sun Mountain bag, and I'm like, it's so much bag that I downsized into this vessel bag, and I love it. And the issue is then we got sent the Omni X bags. I'm just like, shit.
They're awesome. I actually also have
I love my vessel bag though.
Custom Sunday golf bag, and same thing though. It's like my previous bag was kind of bulky as well, and it was old. There's actually a loudmouth golf. I don't know if you've seen those loudmouth.
I've seen theirs.
Have you seen that meme where the guy's got the matching pants and the matching luggage bag with all the different colors? That was my bag.
That's him. Yeah.
Like I gotta upgrade, and it was a little bit bulky, and so I went with the Sunday custom bag, and I that's what I've been gaming most of the time. We just got that Omni X bag, and really nice bag too. So check it out. But
they come with like 2 different like club covers.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. Yeah, check them out. It's really
and like a dust bag. I felt like I was unboxing a big sneaker.
That's the other whole part about doing these videos. It comes with the presentation is really cool. So
I know you tried to make a video, and I like ripped open my box like immediately. I'm like, no way.
Yeah. Okay, so you're on the first tee. What's your walk-up song?
Oh wow. Dang, that is a crazy question. Probably Mystical. Kings of Comedy was the opening for, who was that? Who opened for it? Cedric the Entertainer. Shoot, what is the name of the song?
Not Dangerous, is it?
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes, that is my walkout song. That was in Kings of Comedy. I mean, I grew up in 89, or I was born in 89, so like,
hey, same as me.
God, you guys are so old.
There we go, man. So you know how my knees are. You know how my knees are feeling. You're the sports guy. You know how knees are right now.
You guys are so old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great. That's a good answer. I like that one.
What would yours be? Because we didn't answer it last time.
I don't like when you ask me this because
I know.
same thing. Like when we put like a spot, it's more for the guest. But when he does this to me every time, and I still always give like a crappy answer, or I just say like I have to think about it.
Wow, what a crappy answer.
I do have a couple of Spotify playlists that have like gotten a shocking amount of listens. I started like I think one of them I called Bermuda or something like that, and it's just a playlist of I can't remember if it's lo-fi or just whatever I was listening at the time, and like it blew up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird that like people are just jumping into the Spotify playlists.
Well, I'm talking music that the picture in the backdrop there that you have with the football shield. I can't remember what artist who that is because I have a couple of their songs. The one with the football shield.
Oh, Gene Dawson. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I have a couple of songs and I couldn't remember the names of the songs, but I'm like, dude, I know I've seen that album cover that before.
Wild. So what's even crazier is so Gene Dawson used to be represented by the founder of Jane Golf. I don't know if you guys know who Jane Golf is.
Oh.
It's a smaller brand that's like very experience based, has done like a lot of really good projects with like Top Golf and stuff.
No, Gene Dawson.
Oh. Yeah, they're super legit, but he used to represent Gene, and then like him and I just got on a call of probably a couple months ago, and he was like, "Is that Gene in the background? That's wild." It's just small world. Like you guys already talked about it, but yeah, it's a lot smaller than people think.
I think my walk-up song, since Derek can't think of one, I would probably do like "Invincible" by Pop Smoke.
Oh, that's
kind of. I think it's a banger. And then lately, like if it's more mellow, I'm not trying to get like all hyped up. I might do like Eurostar by Central C or featuring Central C. Yeah. It's super mellow, instrumental. It's not in English for a lot of it. What are you going with?
Fresh is our turn, baby.
I'm doing some big timers, throwing away.
That's also a classic.
Yeah,
that definitely turned some heads.
I would also do this is one I've been doing by David Banner all the time.
David Banner.
Not Butterfly.
You think of it. I'm just asking real quick. What's your favorite sport besides golf?
Oh man, I mean, I played basketball or played football in college, but I love hoops. I love like hoop culture. I just everything around the sport is awesome.
That's kind of me too. That was like my first sport that I fell in love with, and oh yeah, great songs. Like, but how about that Timberwolves squad, man? I've been waiting for the Timberwolves to do something for years, and we're onto something.
I mean, I'm a Portland guy, and Dame left the city, so we're just.
I love Dame.
Scoot's going to be a bust or not.
Yeah, Scoot.
Yeah, if he's going to be a bust or not. So just patiently waiting. Back to like the Trailblazer.
I love Dame. Dude, Dame was just that guy.
Yeah, they had a good thing going. Dame, McCollum. I mean, that whole. Yeah.
Didn't they have Bledsoe for a little bit? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
We had a little bit of everybody for a little bit.
That's true.
Yeah. But no, yeah, that's a whole other conversation because I could sit here and talk hoops for hours.
I can't. Unless it's Kevin Garnett, I can't.
What do you prefer to walk or ride on the golf course?
Walking helped me get better quicker. And like, if you go back way in the archives of the page, I started doing this challenge called 96 challenge. I'll probably bring it back. I actually just got a set of clubs from Next Round of clubs that I have been trying to find for like almost 8 years now. I'm getting ready to make a video about it, but like literally they got here today. So like, I haven't even opened the box. It's just like just off camera. But yeah, like walking the course, like it's a completely different experience. Like you just understand the dynamics of like how to play a lot different. I think it's just a lot more fun in my opinion to walk. And I think that's also played a role in slow play. Like that's something, another video that I was thinking about doing was talking about the course in Texas that like introduced a cart to the first time. Because something that I'm also really interested in is how golf is played overseas in other countries. Like I was on with Fantle Sport, the founder, with Dan, and like he was telling me about in New Zealand, a lot of people don't listen to music and like carts are off limits just because it burns the grass. It seems to like slow down play, but the music thing also threw me off. I was like, well, what are you guys doing out there? Just like drinking and just like playing sticks or what? So
no drinking either.
It's just really interesting.
Then you go to the next. That is actually a really interesting take. And honestly, I've never thought about that because when you think about a golf cart, it's going to drive way faster, but then now you're scooting around looking
just
for
watching
golf
people
balls.
zigzagging. Yeah.
And really, if you're walking, I mean,
I was gonna say, like, how does it burn the grass? And then I remember you and I definitely almost flipped a golf cart as we were spinning down this damn hill.
So I can see that happening. But yes,
We definitely burned the grass there.
probably. But that's a good take. You have to post on that because I think that's a very interesting, and I think you could be onto something there.
I definitely lost my beer.
I think that's pretty much it. We do ask a food question. So Dom, you can ask however you want to ask this food.
So
I'm a
when
cook.
we're out in your area, because it sounds like we're going to be out there eventually,
Yep.
within the next
We're gonna
year.
come visit you for sure. Yeah.
This is where I'm going to feel really short and unathletic. Where should we go eat?
Man, I haven't
this-
been to Portland in a minute, but it is very hard to like miss in Portland. So, I mean, I have kids,
Yes, it
so like
is.
when I'm driving to Portland, I stop at a place called Big Jim's. Crazy good hamburgers and milkshakes, like literally always spot in Hood River. But yeah, like you won't miss in Portland. It's definitely a foodie spot for sure.
I love food.
It's a big coffee hub and it's
Everything, breweries, desserts.
It's a brewery type of deal. Yeah, okay, that's what I kind of figured. So right up
Yeah.
my alley. The
You get a
coffee,
little bit of
all that
everything.
comes. Yeah. Well, Raymond, man, it's been a blast having you on. I appreciate you taking the time and joining us on the podcast, and we're super excited for you on your podcast. And hopefully we can have you on in 2024, and we can talk about upcoming projects you might have.
100%. You guys will get an email or a text or something to book a date.
Awesome. That sounds
Lights
good.
out, right?
My light just died?
It could have, yeah.
Holy shit.
Time to go. All right, man. Nice to meet you, man. So keep up all the great work. Let us know how we can help you out. All right.
Really appreciate it, fellas.
All right. Take care.
That's it.